starting with my contribution, I would like to present my condolences on behalf of Tunisia and my Tunisian people to you. There are German tourists who have been brutally attacked yesterday. There are also Tunisian citizens who died. I can tell you, because I've been spending a lot of time reading what's happening. I wasn't there when it happened. To tell you that people are shocked, dizzy, and it's the second murderly attack that happens in this year. And we are really completely not knowing where we're going now, just to tell you. But these are the first moments. I know that we have been resilient since the revolution, during the transition, and now the second time this year. Our challenge, my main challenge, is to still continue to be resilient and to continue this process. And because it is the only chance that we have not to seize the continuation of what we've been doing and not to be fearful of these violent extremist groups who are targeting our transition. My conversation with you would start with maybe trying to answer the question asked by this conference. Global development in democracy between dream and trauma. I will try to answer this question for the Tunisian democracy. Then I will tell you a little bit about the context that we have and the challenges. And I will end with telling you a little bit about my personal struggle there. So first, when we ask ourselves about the democracy in Tunisia, I said, between dream and trauma, what does that mean really? Is it really a dream? We heard about Jasmine Revolution, we heard about Arab Spring, and what is it really something that means an interest to us in Tunisia? So Jasmine Revolution, we heard it first by the French, I think, and I can tell you, that for us it didn't mean something real. Bouazizi, who set himself on fire in Sidi Bouzid, didn't come from the coastal areas where jasmine grows. Bouazizi comes from a place where it's very difficult for young people to have their own project. It's full of blockages, administration blockages, full of unemployment, and it is very difficult to think about the jasmine when what you have is cactus and flowers, not flowers actually, but the desert is very near. Yes. When we think also about the Arab Spring, it was more, let's say, an English Anglo-Saxon word. Was it really a spring for us? It's very difficult. I prefer to say that it's more the fall season for us. It's not spring because we don't have flowers yet, we don't have the sun, we don't have the little birds singing. It's more a rainy time where we have to sow the seeds and where we have seeds that are really deep inside the earth. And we don't know yet if they're going to grow beautiful plants, if they're going to grow ill plants. We are in little chaos, let's say, that needs to be fertile, by the word. And this is our challenge, is that we grow big plants. So it's not time for Arab Spring. I know it's late to say that after 4 years, but we haven't been given voices, I think, enough to say what we think about what's happening in our region. We have lots of experts talking for us and trying to understand and trying to tell the word, because they have actually voices heard by the international media, etc. But this is our feeling. So, jobs, liberty, and national dignity. That was the main slogan, and that actually was the dream for us. Jobs, liberty, and national dignity. And Dr. Roof said it. This is really the major problem. This is what we want, what the youth want, what the Tunisian people want. And this might be our dream. But if I move now to the trauma, is it really a trauma. It looks like a trauma. Tunisia has been divided since revolution. We were all united against a dictatorship when we were out in the streets protesting. But very quickly, when the transition came and arrived, political parties took the lead. And we didn't see the young people who were in the protest joining massively any political party or supporting any political leader. It seems that the transition happened between the ex-regime and the traditional opposition parties that were resisting under the dictatorship. But it became a political transition. And this is a division. Some people say it was between Islamists and seculars. We heard that a lot. Some of them was between regions, prosperous regions, and marginalized ones. Lots of division. We are all a majority of Muslims and Sunnis, but some tried and found a way to say, okay, there are not real Muslims and real Muslims. And actually, we had, after this division, it was a very good hotbed for political assassinations and accusations between political parties, ruling ones, or those in opposition and who were not elected at all in the parliament. Now we have these violent extremist attacks on citizens and tourists. So it really looks like a trauma. But the reality is in between. It's not a dream, it's not a trauma. We had elections, the first free and fair elections in my country since our independence in 2011 and in 2014. Now we have a new constitution, a progressive one. As Professor Hoof said, it is a constitution, one of the most progressive in terms of liberties, equalities, gender equalities, in terms of human rights, a civil state, a separation between powers, etc. We are talking about a success story. We are asking ourselves if it is a model, it can be a model for the Maghreb. So this is our reality today. The question that I would like to ask to ourselves is more, are we able to still continue the resistance and the resilience to become a stable democracy? Are we able to look at ourselves and to self-criticize our own problems without accusing one another, but taking responsibility and decisions to reform the country? It's not a revolution in terms of the change, a radical change of the system. It's more a continuity, but we chose the way to reform. And we started with the Rolls Royce of the legal reforms with progressive constitution. Now we have to translate this constitution and to have new laws that are progressive according to this constitution. So these are the questions that are should be happening on the public sphere. Unfortunately, since the attack, I'm still seeing divisions and accusations. So this is a big question mark. When is it going to stop? So still about the context of Tunisia, we had 7 governments in less than 4 years. So 3 consensual governments since revolution, then elections, then 3 elected governments before between the transition and the permanent regime. And now we have the 7th government that is supposed to start all the reforms that we need. As I said, we have the constitution, we have also new institutions according to this constitution. An institution to supervise the media, an institution to have free and fair elections, and an institution to follow and reform the justice. All these are gains since revolution because they are independent, they have an independent budget, and they are independent from the executive. The challenge for them is to become really a counterpower watchdogs for the executive, which is not really the case. They have all the legal power, but they have problems of budgets, problems of human resources, problems of credibility. I can tell one example The Transitional Justice Commission is headed by an old activist who has been targeted by the ex-regime for a long time, and she is still targeted in her own integrity today to discredit all the work of transitional justice. Transitional justice, just to tell you, should bring the truth to what happened not only under the dictatorship, but also under Bourguiba and during the independence process and all the building of the modern state of Tunisia, which is very important. One of the tools of the dictatorship is to hide the truth and to build a beautiful story about its own success and having everything that is good in the country happening thanks to them, and not to normal people who are worked, etc. We forgot them for these ones. We don't have role models. We try to have role models only coming from the ruling party. So this has changed, but the truth is not there yet. And we have now the challenges, as I said, is to implement new laws and deep reforms in all sectors. But what is happening in real is that we have real plurality on the ground. So that never existed before. We have political parties that then challenge themselves. I say challenge because that's how I see politics, challenging one another on the real questions. As I said, it's still accusation and still just getting rid of the responsibility on what's happening. But we are in the process. I hope that it will change and we will be challenging ourselves on the real questions. We have freedom of speech. This is also very new since revolution. But freedom of speech that is conditional. We cannot still criticize police, we can still not criticize military, and we have examples of bloggers who have been jailed under military courts because they've been accusing the military of some very dangerous actions against the country. We have also another citizen blogger who were followed by police, and when she went to have a case and tried to sue the police, she was herself jailed and accused to threaten a public servant. So this is very, very a long process, but it was a police state. So they still have the power. When we say power, it's not how we see the police. It should be protecting us. And still, we don't have this relationship of law and a relationship of respect between the police and citizens. So challenges, as I already said, we have so many of them. We have security, we have social and economic. If I just go very quickly, now the situation of the youth has not improved. We have 31% of the unemployed youth who have university degrees. It's not like young people who are not educated. It's people who have university degrees. 31% of them are unemployed, over a national rate of 15% of unemployment. We have, from the political side, succeeded to maintain the institution and the administration. The Tunisian administration and state didn't fall after revolution, and it's one of the strengths and the resilience of our country. But it is also the main reasons that the reforms didn't happen. It is a very solid and rooted institution that doesn't accept newcomers. And I can tell you as an insider, as advised the Minister of Tourism and Minister of Finance during two governments of transition, how it is hard to, you can imagine a machine, like an engine, and with a new key, and you have to find where is the right plug, and they don't accept the plug. It's like all the holes of the plugs are closing when you try to change and make it work. And this is also one of our major problems. Administration reform didn't happen yet, and it's one of the main blockages of the reforms that didn't start yet. And just to conclude about the main feeling, this mistrust between citizens and institutions is still there. We don't trust our police, we don't trust our justice too. So this is, let's say, I don't think it's going to happen in these coming years, although we have lots of threats. You know, Tunisia, just to tell you, is also suffering from the global economic crisis, has its own problems of a country going out from a dictatorship, so corruption, nepotism, etc. But also we have now these new security threats as a country that has a border with a country in war, Libya, and with these violent extremist groups that are threatening the whole stability of the regions. This is about Tunisia. I'm coming to the last part, which is my own personal struggle now. So I participated in 2 campaigns as a candidate for the parliament. So our party, the Fuldatal party, and you talked very quickly about the difficulties that we had. We lost completely. We don't have any seats in the parliament.
From 20 to 0.
Sorry?
From 20 to 0.
From 20 seats, so we were the 3rd party of the country to non-present at all in the parliament. But this happened also to all the historic opposition parties to the dictatorship. We suffered, I can say, of the polarization of the political scene between Islamists and non-Islamists, to summarize it very quickly, but we can dig more about it. So since then, I'm thinking, and everyone actually is thinking, what is the real impact that we can have in these 5 years, where we won't have any position in the parliament or a voice in the media. Just a little word about the media. It's very calm now. During the transition, it was following everything and raising any problem. Today, we don't hear any more criticism. Okay, very few criticism by alternative media, new websites, new online websites, but the mainstream media, it doesn't seem that they are really reactive and really professional. For example, yesterday during the attack, we had news from international media, but our own TV was quiet until the night. So just to tell you how we are lacking professional media. And so even in the attack, where you should be all united and all trying to understand what's happening. So I'm not even talking about the real critical problems. So my personal struggle now is we are having an association that is called Tunisian Association for Civic Culture to work with youth. As I said, nothing was really happening for them, but actually our main, let's say, force, we are more than 50% of the population under 35, is the most neglected population. And we have seen a tragic figure that is now propagated everywhere, that we have exported 3,000 young people to jihad in Syria and Iraq. And nobody is trying to understand why does a young person in Tunisia, with all the hope and all the expectations, is trying to join a new state instead of involving in the transition in the country. So we have found that it's mainly a problem of inclusion, of feeling belonging to the society, Tunisian society. It seems that revolution brought expectations, but the despair and the hopelessness is even more when things didn't happen very quickly. So some try to escape and immigrate clandestinely to Europe. Some maybe try a better life, try to find a better life in a new state that is being built. And our association is to work in the areas where these violent extremist groups are most active, to provide an alternative. And let's say an alternative that brings new role models, new connections to these young people, to find a way to integrate in the society that is still not provided by the state, but can be and should be provided by the civil society, which can find funds and which can be more reactive than the state institution. We know it's a long struggle, whereas we need this now, and it is even too late. But we are thinking about the new generation of young people who don't have yet institutions that are able to understand them and are able to give them a position in the society and include them economically and socially in the new Tunisia. Thank you for listening to me, and I'm very happy to answer a conversation with you, start the conversation.